Heather McDonald has got the juiciest scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data, and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Woo woo. Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I have a return favorite of Juicy Scoop, but a star in his own right. Doctor, husband, father of triplets, now father-in-law.
Yeah.
Son just got married.
Yes.
Dr. Drew, welcome back to Juicy Scoop. It's
Always,
been a minute.
It has been a minute, but it's always a pleasure. Doesn't feel like it's been that long. I saw you not that long ago, but I was, I want to use good language here. I was going to say assailed, but I was approached by many Juicy Scoopers as I move across the country.
Oh, I love it.
And one this last weekend at a pool, and I thought to myself, and she was so complimentary and so enthusiastic, and everyone loves so much being a part of this. I thought, I got to get back on quick. I got to get back in there.
That's so funny because it happened that you ran into this woman like this past weekend.
Yes.
And then I reached out to Susan, and then she's like, were your ears burning? We were just talking about you. We were at the Juicy Scooper last night, your wife, Susan, and you've had exciting family news. Your son is married.
Yes. We had a beautiful wedding.
Right on the beach, gorgeous.
And it's so funny, this woman that approached us, Pam, who will die that we mention her name. She's such a huge fan of yours. And I said, did you see the Cabo interviews we all did? Do you remember that?
Yes, of course.
That was so fun.
That was so fun.
Yeah,
we can try to work on that stuff again.
Oh, it'd be so good.
I might have the hookup now back again.
In Cabo?
Yeah.
Oh, we had, and it was fun doing the interviews and stuff too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say, now your son just got married.
Hang on a second. I'm just flashing on something in Cabo, which was, here we are in the airport going through customs, and you had to stay 6 feet distance.
Oh, yes.
Everyone wearing stupid ass masks.
Because we went, I think we went November of 21.
No.
Of 2020?
20, because I got COVID like 3 months later, and I kept thinking to myself, if I hadn't gone to COVID, I would want to kill myself right now. Because
you haven't gone to Cabo,
what did I say? COVID. If I hadn't gone to Cabo, I would have wanted to kill myself because it was so miserable being sick. I was like, at least I can remember that great time in Cabo we had.
Yes, we did go to Cabo, and I remember we, in doing the photos, we were going to get shit for having fun in 2020.
We were outside, which is two cases in the world transmitted out of doors, everybody, 2 in the world. And then I was just interviewed a guy just a couple hours ago who was a guy that was there when they made the decision to go 6 feet. And he was like, it was completely arbitrary. There was nothing to indicate that 6 feet would do anything. In fact, they were thinking more like 30 or 60 feet might.
Yeah.
6 feet would do nothing, and the whole world adopted us. And there we are standing in a custom line in Mexico. Remember that?
You guys, I have to tell you, the other day, my sister Shannon was like, so now you have the fake eyelashes on, right? I swear. And I'm like, no, this is the mascara that I've been using. Lash Paradise Mascara from L'Oreal Paris. It gives you that sultry look, that bold lash look that is in. I absolutely love the look. The fluffy bristle brush gives that fuller looking lash instantly. So drop the falsies. Lash Paradise Mascara gives you all the drama for your lashes. Order Lash Paradise now on Amazon. Now let me turn therapist on you, Dr. Drew. Yeah. Because Dr. Drew, during this time in history, you chose to speak your own opinion based on your study and expertise.
My opinion.
And it was not along the politically correct at the time opinion, and you brought up different things, and then sometimes you were like, well, I wasn't totally correct about that.
Yeah.
People can make mistakes, people can go back and forth. But
as you said before the mic heated up, I got the stink on me.
You got the stink on you. You got the stink on you where it was like, oh, don't fuck with him anymore.
Yeah. Don't go near him.
Don't go near him.
Radioactive.
Not even 6 feet.
By the way, being right. I was right about 85% of the things I was saying.
Yes.
And there's more going to come out soon.
And has anyone that abandoned you in Hollywood or anywhere else or the medical field, had anyone come to you and said in a text or email, whatever, hey, in retrospect, sorry I kept my distance. I was, feeling the heat from my agent not to mess with you.
Nobody.
Not one person.
Instead,
I can attest to a similar situation with me.
Yeah.
Not one person when I proved that I wasn't a thief, I wasn't a liar, all that crap from, 9 months ago. Yeah. Not one person was like, hey. No, actually there was like a fan that wrote me.
Oh, that's nice.
And was like, hey, I can't believe I believed all the lies that were said about you.
It is weird how some people get these stink, as you say. I mean, you'd be the last person on earth I would expect to be dealing with that.
Yeah.
I only try to speak the truth and, and help people and that kind of gets weird that we get these things. But although I did not get one person apologizing or saying, I've reconsidered, anything like that, what I got instead was a lot of, why did you apologize? You were right all along. You should have stood up with a greater fortitude.
You mean 3 years ago? You should
3 years ago.
Never should have apologized.
Never should have apologized for anything. And it was like, well, I got some things wrong, and I'm happy to apologize about that if I get some stuff wrong. I have no problem with that. Now, even some of the stuff I apologized about, I ended up being right about. But I'm like, okay, if it hurt somebody, I don't mean to do that. I'll apologize.
And I still feel like, of course, in retrospect, there's a lot of things that we look back and go, well, that wasn't too smart, pulling everybody out of school for, a year and a half.
2 years.
2 years or whatever.
Terrible.
And
it really harmed people.
Right.
It really hurt.
I agree with all that. And I'm kind of like, but also there were just, to give a little grace, there were just humans having to make these decisions in a situation that they didn't know what was going on. We hadn't been there before.
How did I know? How did so many of us know that they were making the wrong decisions?
Well, then, fine.
And I, at the beginning, like the first 3, even 6 months.
Even this so controversial talking about it, what's going to happen. But I kind of feel like it's safe now.
It's time. Yeah,
I feel like it's okay now to just talk, and I don't really care anymore.
There's so many things that we couldn't talk about like 4 years ago. It's so weird when you think about it.
You can't talk about it because what's going to happen to you? You're not going to be invited to anything. People are going to inundate your comments and you're going to lose sponsors or whatever just for having like a difference of opinion. And it's like, thank God now people, they won't say, gosh, I was wrong about that. Or I shouldn't have been such an asshole because you smiled that one time in a photo in 2020 without a mask. But they won't double down on what they were thinking. They're just silent. Yeah.
Yeah. And many of those people were so wrong and so disgusting in their behavior, they need to be mocked. We need to flip it over to start to make fun of things.
Yeah.
Because they deserve it. If you get things wrong, whatever. But anyway, the point is that 6 months in, it was pretty clear what was going on. We had an A/B test, Florida versus California.
Yeah.
Florida did a lot better. California did a lot worse. How about we adjust accordingly? No, because Florida's that kind of place and California's this kind of place.
Yeah.
Therefore, we can't talk about it.
Right.
It's crazy.
So
anyway,
so enough of that. So none of the friends are coming back. You realize they weren't the real friends.
Yeah.
You were left with how many people?
My real friends are still with me and always were. And even people that disagreed with me, we just disagree.
Right.
It's fine to disagree with people. It's a good thing, not a bad thing. And you're one of them, and we're here, and Peter's another one.
But what about the Hollywood aspect of it?
I just moved on. I just moved on to do other things. That's all.
Yes.
I mean, this kind of thing. The digital world has. So I started. What I started doing. I have a good thing you mentioned this. I would have forgotten. Susan would have killed me.
Yeah.
Susan started producing a show Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 3:00 Pacific called Ask Dr. Drew, where at first I was just offering my opinions about what was going on in COVID. And because I was saying things that weren't always the party line, I felt like I was the French underground. I kept saying, I think we're the French underground. We're like broadcasting to the world that wants freedom and expression. And it evolved into this really interesting show where I started interviewing all the people who have been canceled. As soon as somebody was canceled, I would just go, I want to talk to them. I want to see why they're canceled. I want to see what they have to say. And I didn't agree with everything everybody said, not by a long shot, but I discovered something from each and every one of them New information came to me because of, and all of them were exceptional professionals, like decorated professionals.
Canceled because of their opinion on COVID, or canceled throughout
Usually
the world?
COVID or
COVID
vaccine
stuff.
or something.
Yeah. And because now I feel like in Hollywood, the cancel thing has like subsided.
Yes.
It's proven that people don't really care. And I feel like there's different ways, like PR-wise, I think there's a different way to deal with stink now.
But also people have just, I want to hear what that is, but they've all just moved on.
Yeah.
The world has moved on from those assholes. They're here at Juicy Scoop. They're watching me on Ask. They've moved on to more interesting things where people are doing more creative, interesting stuff than same old.
I feel like the internet mob of, oh my God, they're demanding that Bravo, hires these people, or why is it not, whatever they're demanding. This person gets fired. We demand. Yeah. And it was literally a small amount of people.
Always.
And everybody like kowtowed, whatever. What's it?
Caved to them. Yeah.
Caved to them. And now it's just like, so what?
Right.
Like I saw it happen a little bit with Matt Rife, and I even talked about it. He got people were like, oh my God, I can't believe that he like doubled down on this joke, this politically incorrect joke on the internet. I don't even get into it. Yeah. And they're like, and people are like, oh my gosh, the biggest comedian of the internet is done. And I'm like, cut to like 6 weeks later, he's playing the Hollywood Bowl.
Right.
I think he's okay.
Right. Well,
it's fine. We can still discuss it. But your power to like actually take away, to convince everybody else that found someone funny or interesting to never find them funny or interesting again for a joke. It's one thing to be arrested, sexual assault, whatever. Yeah. But just, they did a thing that was maybe a little insensitive and you're a comedian. I think the comedians have taken back some of the power.
Thank you. And thank you for doing so, because I, as God is my witness, I kept saying during COVID, where are the comedians? We need the comedians to speak out, because your comedians are supposed to be offensive and make us uncomfortable. Yeah. That's their job. And I can not like the comedy. I can not like the comedian, but because they make me uncomfortable, that's what they're supposed to do. And they're supposed to challenge us.
Well, I just think if you had a different opinion, then you were labeled as having a particular opinion on 12 other subjects.
Yes.
And so they're like, so if you think like this, then you think this way on all these things, and therefore you are public enemy number one.
Yes.
So a lot of people would maybe like whisper to each other like, I'm not getting vaxxed either, or hey, something, or like if
Well,
whatever.
I remember when you fell and you were in a red carpet. And
no, I wasn't. On a red carpet.
You fell,
fainted.
and then I said,
a red carpet.
You had a classic POTS syndrome.
Yeah. That's what you think it is. Well, who knows what it is?
It's POTS. It's when you're standing there and all of a sudden you collapse. I mean, and it could have been, look, COVID can do it, vaccine can do it. They can both do it. Which is more, I have no idea, because they won't do the studies to figure it out, which is doing this. Did you have COVID
I've
also?
I've never had COVID.
Yeah. So for you, it must have been the vaccine, or it was a spontaneous event, whatever it was. And somebody asked you in a red carpet, do you think it was the vaccine? And you were like, can we talk about this now? Am I allowed to say this?
And no, they never aired that.
Interesting. I'm worried that's what happened.
I just saw I just saw another video of where there's a whole thing of everybody fainting on TV again, and of course I'm in it, and
I'm worried that Saget, that's what happened to him.
Yeah,
he fainted in a bathroom and fell on a marble floor, and then went to bed because his head hurt, and that was the end of that.
I mean, the other part of it is I don't think people want to think. And listen, it doesn't make me feel. I don't know what happened to me, and I hope that it wasn't.
Let's say it was the vaccine. It doesn't make the vaccine bad or a bad idea,
right?
Because back when we had Alpha and Delta, people forget how bad that was. The vaccine was extremely effective and helpful, even though it wasn't quite what we thought it was. I'm really glad we had a vaccine right then, because Alpha and Delta were bad, and people forget that. They think about Omicron as though that's always been like Omicron. It's different. So.
Well. I think the reason, like, look, when they go, what do you think happened? I'm like, I don't know. I was totally better after. I had every test from the heart to the head to the and I was fine after. It's never happened since. However, like, I chose to get the vaccine. I felt better about knowing that I couldn't go out and catch it that night. I never got it. I never have had it. No one in my immediate family had it.
You were bragging about the vaccine when you fell down.
Exactly. And that's why people thought it was like,
God.
Like I was telling the world something. But the other flip side of that is like, yeah, if you got it and you're fine, of course you don't want to believe that we all are going to fall on our head and die in the next 5 years. So
there can be risks, and the risk can be worth it. But to pretend there's no risk, and we can't talk about the risk, that's the opposite of medicine.
Okay, that's a good way to put it.
You got to understand the risks and decide the risks are worth it and proceed.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's worth in the day of Omicron for a 19-year-old male to get boosted. I'm not clear on that. But of course they won't do the research to help me really determine how right I am or not.
Yes.
So anyway, let's talk about fun stuff.
Let's talk about fun stuff. But I'm glad you're still around.
Yes,
and you didn't give up on life because people were
no.
mean to you online and didn't invite you to parties. But let's talk about something. I want to get your opinion on what's going on with Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah.
Now, just to fill you in, the scandal of where Tom Sandoval cheated on his girlfriend of 9 years with another cast member. That was a year ago.
And you remember my Sandoval relationship, right? So
do tell.
Okay, so I did. You'll remember when I prompt you.
Okay.
He was on Special Forces season 2.
Oh, that's right.
I was on Special Forces season 1. They had me do the reunion episode where I sort of had led a discussion with the cast from season 2.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
I met Tom there. I didn't really know much about it. I kind of heard a little bit in the background. Seemed like a nice guy. He looked depressed to me at the time. And he said, come on my podcast. So I went on his podcast and we talked all about this stuff. People felt, I think, like I gave him too much
grace.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean.
Well, what was your evaluation of him?
Well, what I didn't like that he was busy doing at the time was self-flagellating. Like beating himself up. I deserve this. I deserve to be. I do calm that down. That feels narcissistic, right?
Okay.
When you're doing that stuff. It's like, yeah, okay, take the punches, fine. The world is pissed at you and maybe even hates you. Don't then grab a club and hit yourself over the head. That doesn't feel right to me. He was okay with that. I learned more about their relationship and the therapy they were getting and how desperately bad things were.
Between Ariana and Tom.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing to him was, well, why didn't you just get out before you did something horrible? Mm-hmm. And his response at the time was, I tried. They wouldn't let me, the therapist and Ariana. Ariana, is it? Adriana?
Yeah. She goes by, everyone says you can say it either way. Ariana.
Okay.
I say Ariana.
So it was just a messed up situation. Nobody was happy. It was one of these, this kind of stuff happens. If people don't take care of business when they know there's trouble, whether it's dealing with a mental health issue or dealing with a relationship issue, things progress. And they progressed, and eventually somebody does some stupid shit, and that was him.
Right. Okay, so now they have this explosive reunion from last season. Yep. Now we've watched the whole season, which I thought was really fascinating to watch. Some people are like, I'm sick of it. Some people, felt it was boring. I did not at all. I was fascinated by the fact that they were on this TV show. They are all agreeing to still film. Ariana, meanwhile, got all these opportunities. She's starred in, she got Dancing with the Stars. She got a star of the play Chicago in New York. Brought tons of brand deals. Now we just found out that she has a collab with DSW, and she sent me the shoes. Very cute.
Did she get a new relationship?
She met a guy at a wedding approximately 8 days after the explosive breakup. And then
8 days after the breakup?
Is when she met him. Then she said she didn't start dating him 8 days after, but she met him 8 days after.
Did she keep seeing that therapist they were both seeing maybe?
No, I don't know about her therapy, but she met this guy, and then he became her boyfriend.
Okay.
And then so they filmed the whole season.
Yeah.
But when he comes around, when Tom comes around, she still agrees to film everything, and she goes to the parties and she goes to the beach. But when he's around, she is a bitch to him, and she's just like, please, don't talk to me, and it is entertaining to watch. Okay, so I think she's doing her fucking job. I think she's doing her job. She's showing up, and she's not hiding her emotions because she hates him. And they're living in the house together because they own it together, and neither of them are going to move because they know whoever moves out is going to lose the power, and they want to make sure that they get their money. So they're both living in the house.
What?
I know that sounds insane.
You sure the show didn't kind of muscle that a little bit?
No, that I don't think the show muscled at all.
Because they were doing that at the beginning, and I thought he was wanted to get out, and then all of a sudden he's staying.
Everyone was like, why doesn't she leave? And I'm like, well, why doesn't he leave?
I smell producers. I don't know.
No, that part I don't think is a producer. Well, that one I don't. But
because she hates him and she's disgusted by him, that sounds like torture.
Or does she? If she moved out, wouldn't his life be so easy?
Well, and
I think sometimes someone hates someone enough that they're like, I'm going to forgo my happiness a little to make your fucking life horrible. Yeah. So guess what? I am fucking staying here.
People do that.
And if you can go pick up and leave. And he was like, well, I'm not leaving. So they both were. It was War of the Roses, that movie. Like they both didn't leave. But she was busy.
Early 80s.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. You guys want to watch it? It's very funny. I think it was Michael Douglas and Kathleen.
No, Michael Douglas and...
Anyway, so they each had like a big primary type of bedroom that they'd be living. So we watch the whole thing. We get to the reunion. I mean, to the finale scene. And they have this party, and she's...
And by the way, before you go to the final finale, let's remember that these were people, the two of them, that were motivated to keep a shitty relationship. Am I allowed to?
Yes.
Shitty relationship together because of the show.
Right.
So they are sort of dedicated to being on reality shows and the work they're doing, and they prioritize that, let's say.
I mean, I really think that is why I have dedicated so many years of my life and this podcast to analyzing reality shows, because it really is so interesting. You're seeing people's real life, but such a big part of where they are in their relationships, whether it's friendship or romantic or a divorce or whatever, has to do with the show. Well, but the show doesn't want them to say, hey, it's because of the show that I'm fucking sitting next to the stick, because that would be breaking the fourth wall.
Yes.
So
I think a 90 Day Fiancé, which I'm a big fan of.
There's all the shows are starting to break the fourth wall now.
Well, not on that wall so much, because you could tell. I'm like, well, why is she in it? Oh, she wants to be on TV. That's why.
Oh, of course.
People, the desire to be on television is so crazy to me. People will just... They want to be on TV so badly.
They want to be on TV more than they want to be an American citizen. It's like a double whammy. I can be an American citizen, I can get on TV, and then I'll divorce him, and then I'm there and I'm famous. It's like it's the greatest gift to someone who's not living here.
Oh my God.
You have to fuck some of our ugliest citizens, but whatever, it's worth it. I mean,
it's so
that's
crazy.
a thing you can't.
But you can't tell. It's hard to tell whether they are, or what's going on exactly. And then they kind of get, they become a sort of a little brand, and then now they're like these two. They're kind of stuck together, working together. It's kind of weird. And people, there's two other parts that people aren't aware of that have worked in reality context, is the people they cast are special. You know what I mean? They don't cast healthy people, because healthy people are boring. Mm-hmm. They just are. I don't begrudge casting people that, because I
always say if someone gets fired after their first year, they should be completely flattered.
Yeah,
like a housewife that only does 1 year, you should be so flattered. Yeah. It's because you are too normal. Don't be sad about it.
And I like not normal people, so I don't mean to be disparaging. I'm not being disparaging. We're friends with them. I like it. You know what I mean? I go into
intriguing.
But then you do the things that producers do, which they have two primary moves that I used to. God, I would scream about this on Celebrity Rehab. I finally got them to stop. Because I would see those sick people, people in a treatment center, and they'd start their thing, which is splitting behavior. They'd induce splitting. Hey,
explain.
Hey, Heather, do you know what Ariana said about you? She said you said that you're a bitch, and they'll start feeding information to create a split, not just a rift, but good guy, bad guy kind of rift. and it gets things going, and then you throw alcohol in, and now it's on.
Well, I'm glad you said that because that is exactly what I think happened at the end of this season. Okay, so let's just talk about the relationships with the girls. So we have Ariana and Katie, and we have Lala and Sheena. Okay, let's just focus on those 4 women. And they were all very close at the end of last season at the reunion. They all had each other's back. They all had Ariana's back.
Did you ever talk to Lisa about what she thinks about all this stuff?
Lisa Vanderpump?
Yeah. Like what?
I mean, Lisa kind of has taken a step back as far as being featured on the show as much. She's given the one restaurant is closed. She's doing very well in Nevada
at the Caesars thing.
She's got a Caesars one. Yeah. She's got one in Paris, and then she has a new restaurant in Lake Tahoe, the sexiest restaurant in all of Nevada. Woof. And and it makes sense that she stepped back a little bit because nobody's really working there anymore. So it's not with the show.
We need
what
to
the
go
show
have dinner
was.
with her because she was bugging us both, right?
Yes, and I just talked to her because she was doing her her charity that she does every year for the dogs, but at the park. And there were some protesters that came right up on stage.
Oh boy!
And she handled it very classy. And so I saw the video, and I said, "You handled it so well." She goes, "Where did you see it?" And so I sent her the video. And
do you remember when we were back to Cabo and Josh Flagg called her? And then threw his phone in the ocean.
Well,
by
it fell in the
accident.
ocetion. It fell in the ocean, and then Chris Rangel was like, "I think Melissa Rivers was on the bottom of the sea because it was." I think he was trying to Melissa Rivers when the phone, and then Susan had to get him a new phone. Okay, anyway, getting back to the 4 of them. Okay, so they all have each other's back in the summer, and they're all utilizing this publicity. So then we start watching the show, and it all seems to be fine. But at this finale, at this final party that they're having in San Francisco, Ariana has a conversation with Sheena. Now, Sheena was really trying to push, like, Tom being a great friend to her all these years. So
a friend to Sheena or
Sheena, this
Ariana?
brunette, and Tom Sandoval, they have been platonic friends throughout all the years that she's been on the show. And she always felt he was a wonderful friend to her.
That could be.
Right.
Tom is not a bad person.
Supported her and so then of course he's the one that would pay for things.
Yeah.
And ironically paid for the engagement party between DJ James Kennedy and Raquel, who he had the affair with.
Oh boy.
Because they were engaged. So that was very weird that he would pay for that. And then
do we really know what Raquel's feeling about that relationship? I mean, with Tom?
Well, she's totally over it.
She just wants to get behind it.
She's doing a podcast talking about the show, and she wants nothing to do with him romantically.
It was never really anything in her way of thinking, or what?
I don't really know. I don't follow her show that much.
Okay.
But her recovery from it does not involve any relationship with him.
And then how does Ariana treat her?
Ariana wants nothing to fucking do with Raquel ever. Raquel didn't return to the show.
Oh.
So she didn't have to deal with her, and she certainly didn't want to deal with her because they were very close prior to it.
I know.
And so there was a lot of deception. So Ariana's just like, I don't understand why Sheena thinks that he really cares about her or whatever. And then he comes up to her, Tom Sandoval, and tries to talk to Ariana. And she goes, no. And she walks away. And then they show her talking to the producer, taking off her mic and saying, I don't need to talk to him. This is uninformed consent. You're forcing me to do this. I don't want to talk to him. I don't have to talk to him.
So again, the producer's hand in there.
Right. And so this guy, Jeremy, you see him and she takes off her mic and she leaves. But then Lala has this moment where she's like, oh my God, Tom Sandoval didn't kill someone. And, we all are basically doing our part. And I don't understand why someone gets cheated on and then is suddenly Beyonce or God. And so a lot of the fans.
That's the end of their relationship.
So a lot of the fans didn't like Lala's reaction to that.
Yeah.
It is my opinion that 100% I think I've been there at reality shows as a guest a number of times
I have seen
where they're filming, and I've seen producers
Oh, yeah.
bully the cast to make
yeah.
them think that you're boring, make something fucking happen, or you're not going to have a job anymore. I
remember them doing a lot of that stuff through the Orange County Housewives.
Yes.
Is that where you saw it?
I saw it, yes. I went to a party.
They would go, hey guys, this last season, we told you the ratings were down. If you want to have another season, you better go beat, whatever, scream at so-and-so.
Yeah.
And they go and do it.
This Juicy Scoop episode is presented by Lash Paradise Mascara from L'Oreal Paris. You guys, I have to tell you, the other day, I was using this mascara, and my sister Shannon was like, so now you have the fake eyelashes on, right? I swear. And I'm like, no, this is the mascara that I've been using. Lash Paradise Mascara from L'Oreal Paris. It gives you that sultry look, that bold lash look that is in. My lashes look fuller. They're literally getting longer as I'm using it. I absolutely love the look. The intense volume and length of Lash Paradise gives luxe level lashes. The fluffy bristle brush gives that fuller looking lash instantly. And it's the perfect mascara and lash look for day into night. It's never too much and certainly not too little, and it lasts all day. So drop the falsies. Lash Paradise Mascara gives you all the drama for your lashes. Order Lash Paradise now on Amazon. Juice cleanses, soup diets, keto, hours of cardio. If this cycle sounds familiar to you, there is a better, more sustainable way to lose weight. Ro provides access to the most popular weight loss shots on the market. The Ro Body Program pairs a weekly shot with healthy lifestyle changes so you can lose 15 to 20% of your weight in a year on average and actually keep it off. Over 200,000 people have already chosen Ro to help them lose weight. I love that this is so convenient. You can sign up online in the comfort of your own home, which means no scheduling a doctor's appointment, no commute to a doctor's office, no waiting rooms, the whole thing, so easy. Average weight loss is 15 to 20% in 1 year with healthy lifestyle changes. BMI and other eligibility criteria applies. Go to ro.co/juicyscoop. Sign up today and you'll pay just $99 for your first month and $145 a month after that. Medication costs are separate. That's ro.co/juicyscoop. So I believe that they were getting a lot of pressure off camera.
For sure. No doubt.
To saying, you guys, this show is not going to continue unless you talk to Tom Sandoval, hang out with Tom Sandoval, and Ariana has to too. So convince her to talk to him too.
Yep.
But then Ariana was like, you see her on camera saying, I know what's going on here. Tom's going to weasel his way into sweet Sheena's life again. Sheena's going to convince Lala and the others to take him back. And guess who's going to be left on the outside? Me. And that's exactly what he did. And when she left, because she's like, I'm not going to let him have this moment on camera for the world to see, for him to act and finally apologize. When we lived in the same house for all these months, he could have left me a letter on the counter apologizing. He had all these other opportunities to apologize to me privately and off camera. Now he's going to do it in a tux at the finale. No. And then she also says, and in her confessional, she goes, he was cheating on me. He could have given me a deadly STD. No one seems to care about that, but I'm supposed to stand here at a party and be like, okay, I accept your apology, so that the show goes on for everybody else. But that's where they were bullying the other cast members, making them feel if Ariana doesn't do all of this, then the show is going to end and your money train's going to end. And so they sort of were panicking and they were like, well, we're going the extra mile. We don't want to be here. We don't want to talk to these people. We don't want. And so then they got a little angry at her, and now
she's on the outs.
So now it's Sheena and Lala, like kind of versus Katie and Ariana, and when really it's unfortunate because the fans are like, the four of you women could have banded together and made a great TV show together and not been bullied by the men in the cast and the men controlling the producing of this show. And I really think that would happen. And to give Lala and Sheena some grace.
Do we know that it was males monkeying with the behind the scenes stuff?
Well, the male they showed, Jeremy, is a man.
Because you don't know who was in Tom's ear.
And we don't know what Lisa was saying to people for all that.
Right.
You know, I mean, she's always very forgiving. She's very motherly. The few scenes she has was, well, are you bored of it?
Not bored. It's
I don't know
not
what
bored.
to say. So what would you tell this group? Now let's hear your opinion. How do you think, what if they call
How
you?
many seasons have they done?
Okay,
this group?
now they took a big break. Now they said we're not going to pick up cameras in the summer, and they normally do.
Oh.
Which
Well.
Lala's pregnant, and so it's kind of nice that she has the summer off.
Okay.
Except
she's going to be very pregnant.
But also she was trying to get pregnant at this time. So I want to say, to give Lala a little bit of grace, she's shooting. She was doing insemination, so she had to take the hormone shots.
Yeah.
She's doing it on her own. She's a single mom by choice.
Where's she getting the sperm?
She went through a sperm donor thing. And so it's like, and this is your livelihood that led to all these other things, including all the things that led to Ariana. So they all got something from the show. So in their arguments with her, yes, a big part of is we need to keep this show going for all of us. But if you take the show away and you're just watching it from home, you're like, leave Ariana alone. She should never have to fuck with this dick again. And that's where I find it's so interesting. And the comments and everything are really insightful on all sides. But most people are Team Ariana on it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And do they still want her to come back and reunite with the other three?
I mean, I think they decided to take the break for the summer because they're like, we need people to grow and heal and get over this.
No way.
No way what?
That they did that.
What do you mean no way that they did what?
Who would it, they're either getting ratings and go into production or they don't. They don't go, let's give them some time to heal.
Okay,
I've never seen a reality show ever do anything like that.
That's what the story is. So what do you think the truth is?
The truth is there wasn't money or there wasn't ratings or something. That's if there were ratings, they would go. Unless multiple people were refusing to film for some reason, like other than Ariana. Because then the whole season would have been, how do we get her back in? What do we do? She's upset. I don't know.
So you think the show could be in trouble in coming back? Or version of it, that cast of it. Maybe.
There's something amiss. Something is up.
I think I think
something
there is
up. Are people that interested?
Yes.
But I mean, does it feel like? Do you know what the ratings have been? Are they the same?
No, I don't know what the ratings are. But some people say, Heather, stop talking about it. Whatever. But I because it involves. For me, I find it so interesting because it's like because it is producers bullying. In my opinion, It's jealousy as far as getting other opportunities. It's fear that the opportunities may dry up.
It's so
It's
weird.
real friendships.
It's real friendships.
And then thinking that the real friendship wasn't a real friendship. Maybe it was a TV friendship. It's a lot going on. Then you're a young mom and, or you want to be a mom. Like they're at an age in their early to mid 30s, which is kind of like a come to Jesus age.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's so intriguing.
Well, there's another layer on this that nobody knows unless you've been in there, which is that there's an intensity to being in a reality program. Like, I don't know how to describe it except that everything is very intense. The camera's following you around all the time. Everything's lit. People don't understand there's lighting everywhere. And there's a sound guy following the camera, and there's a guy with a cable wrapping up on. I mean, when you see these intimate scenes, there's at least six other people in the room with them.
In the intimate scene.
Yeah, these intimate scenes, at least 6 other people, sometimes 8 or 10. And so, this is reality, but the other thing that's so weird, it's bizarre how quickly you forget the cameras are there. Even though there are people scurrying around, you can't keep it top of mind all day long. You just forget they're there. And again, there's this intensity. Everyone kind of knows they're on camera, and then lights and stuff. It's a weird psychological phenomenon. So all these relationships are sort of intensified by just being on that show, whether it's a friendship, whether it's an affair, whether it's a romantic relationship. They become sort of, let's say, amplified. If not false, you know what I mean? Like you might not be. It's like if you were on a sinking ship together, you would be bound together by the trauma with whoever happened to be there, even though those are people you may not be friends with if you had a choice, right?
Right.
And that kind of thing happens in reality shows. I'm convinced a lot.
Okay. Well, speaking of all of that, if there was an opportunity to say we're going to film a special thing.
I'm going to sit down and talk to them.
With Dr. Drew and the group therapy.
I think I would have to get...
You'd have to watch it all.
No. I'd have to get Tom and Ariana first.
Get them alone.
I'd have to get them alone, figure out what the hell's going on there. And then I have to find out what really is going on with the one he had the affair with, too. And then the two of them. Oh, she's not on the show anymore.
She's done.
Okay,
Forget about her.
Yeah. Then the other one who was the one that said that Ariana's Beyonce, Lala. So you got to get them together and see how we can deal with that. And
they taped the reunion. The reunions, you can watch the reunion, but I'm just saying.
The reunions are never healing. They're inflaming.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I think there could be another thing.
Yeah.
Where.
No, we could bring them back together. It'd be that would be interesting.
Yeah.
To what their motivations are, how honest I think they are.
I mean, the truth is, maybe people do work together.
Yeah.
And have fun on camera and they know that the fans love that they're quote unquote friends.
And they love their work.
But also, there's times, even no matter what, where it might come out like, I don't really like you that much.
Yes.
I don't really enjoy you.
Yes.
I don't
We
really.
wouldn't be friends outside of this.
Yeah, I don't think you're that genuine. Like, sure, we have a couple moments where I've been sweet and you've helped me out with an outfit and we've had a chuckle. But the truth is, like, are we really, really real friends, like sisters? And maybe not.
If I'm involved with those two, Lala and Ariana, discussing that very issue, this used to happen in Celebrity Rehab all the time. I'd have to sit there and think and try to sort out, is that denial? Is that mental illness? Is that a personality problem? Or they just don't want to reveal this on television, which they're entitled not to do. Mm-hmm. You understand? They don't have to reveal everything they're thinking and feeling. They don't. It's up to them.
Right.
And so there might be things.
She said that one thing Ariana said was like, to anyone that says I should have talked to Tom, why don't you read my contract that says I don't have to do anything I don't want to that I wouldn't deem as something I would do in real life or something like that. The way she said it, she was very prepared. In all of the interviews that she's done throughout this whole thing, she was quite, inflamed and vicious to Rachel Raquel. She goes by both names, whatever. At the reunion because it was so fresh off the thing. But since then, whether it's Watch What Happens Live or an after show interview or a confessional, she's really come like very articulate.
Good.
And explaining herself. And one of the things she does is like, I have boundaries now. And
so she probably has had some therapy.
So I think the boundaries are not just with Tom.
Oh, sure.
I think the boundaries are with the producers. I think the boundaries are with the other cast members forcing her, maybe or feeling like I don't have to do this.
Yeah.
And, their argument is, well, you never did that much for the 7 years prior. And you knew that he was a cheater and you got with him and you cheated, whatever the way they got together all these years.
He was a cheater before?
Ariana and he had a moment or cheated before he left his other girlfriend.
I see, that's right.
Then they got together and then there were a couple moments where they're like, oh, there was this girl in Miami that showed up. And Ariana was like, la, 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 I don't care. Still, that was 7-8 years ago. And did she maybe like the situation of being with this cute guy? Now she's on TV. Is it kind of an easy life? She didn't really do hard carrying of the show as far as like scenes and stuff. She just sort of was a backseat driver, but still a main cast member. But so what if that's what she was 7 years ago? Like, so what? This is who she is now.
Yep.
Yep,
I agree.
So it is. So we'll have that moment where you bring them together. But,
so let's do that. Let's do it on Juicy Scoop.
Well, listen. If I could have it on Juicy Scoop, I'm just saying. It also, brother,
if you'd like,
but if you'd also like to give Dr. Drew the opportunity, and then James Kennedy is the one who's really come off really well this year.
Why?
He's funny. He's stood up for the girl, for Ariana. Well, he doesn't like, he's been nice to Tom, but he's also had moments where he's like been upfront with Tom.
Sure.
And then he's smart because he had a talent that he pursued, which he's a really talented DJ. And like, he's young. And to me, I'm like, that's really great because if this show ends, if he walks away from,
that's the thing about reality shows.
When the show ends or whatever, if he's not a regular on TV anymore, he will he can still be a really talented DJ.
I wanted to do a show once called like After Reality or something.
Yeah.
Like what happens to people? I remember I was on Big Brother 1.
Yeah.
Remember? And that somebody's written a book about Big Brother history now. It's interesting. And he went and interviewed a lot of these people that were on that season, and they all thought they were big stars, and then nothing. And I don't know what that does to people. And
wait, you were on Big Brother 1?
I was a commentator. It was me, Julie Chen, and who I ran into in the airport randomly the other day. And it's one other woman who was the Google woman or something, no. What was it before that dial-up company? AOL. She was the AOL person. And that was it. The three of us did commentary on the show on Thursdays. We did the live show. And
I mean, I think when you're on a really long time, it's different than when you're just, I think when you're on it like The Bachelor or whatever.
Yeah.
I do think it can hurt your future romantic relationships. Because if you're not the 3% that pops and gets a career from being on it, and, becomes an influencer and then goes on 5 other shows after and gets a podcast, whatever. It's like, I think that's a turnoff. Like if you meet somebody and they're like, ew, but you know what? He was on The Bachelor or she was on The Bachelorette, or whatever. Like, I think people might not take you seriously as a romantic partner if you've been on these dating shows on TV. Because I saw it for the only one episode I did of Studs.
Tell me about this.
When I was on Studs, which was on a show 1 night a week. I mean, 5 nights a week.
Hosted by Mark DiCarlo.
Yes. And we went on a date. Cameras did not follow us.
Yeah.
And it was 3 girls and 2 guys. So the guys went on 3 dates and the girls went on 2. And then the producers would talk to us. And that was the first time I had a producer say something I didn't say.
Manipulate you. Yeah.
I said, well, I wasn't into him. My mom thought he was nice looking. And then the line that I was supposed to say was, who said, then they'd ask the guys, which girl said he had a face only a mother could love?
Oh.
And I was like, and I remember he told me he was going to say that before. And I remember him saying that. I go, that is too mean. I go, listen, I'm Christian. Like, that's like so mean. It's not true. He's not a bad looking guy. I was just telling you details of what my family thought,
Too bad.
And, anyway, so I got it. I won. We went on like one date after. We never went on the date to Baja, California, whatever. And then, but as I'd be out a couple years later, like everybody saw the show. I went back to SC and like people, I'd be walking through campus and guys would be like, Studs! Like, I couldn't believe, that's honestly when I got the first taste of fame. Yeah. And in the summer, on a Thursday night at Stratton's in Westwood, everyone from SC and UCLA that stayed home for the summer would go there, and it was fucking popping off.
Yeah.
Jello shots. It's 2 stories. This would have been 1990, the summer of 91.
91.
So my show comes out, and that night I go out to dinner. I go out there. It aired at 7:30, and then I go to the bar at 9, like with Shannon or whatever.
That was when television had power.
Yeah, and there was a big long line to get in, and I had my black romper on from Express. And it was so good. It was a halter, and it was just the best going out outfit. And all of a sudden, the whole line is like, that girl was on Studs, that girl was on Studs, that girl. And I was like, and I remember that I was like, I love this.
Oh, you liked it?
I loved it.
Interesting.
But when
I remember some people get really uncomfortable.
No, I liked it.
And so when people talk about, it's so difficult to be famous. It's so, you don't understand how difficult it is for XYZ actor. I always was very suspicious of that because they get to sit where they want. They get to move around the way they want. They get to people.
The fame part of people coming up to you and everything, to me, I love every second of that. I'm not so big that I can't go out. I don't have a million cameras and security guards.
But we like people. So if people come up to us, I'm like, great. I love people. It's terrific. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of these actors and actresses don't like people. And so people coming up is like, oh.
Well, yeah, sometimes, I mean, there's a lot of people that are like introverts that are really great actors.
Yes,
you know, remember I remember when.
But you would think that would help them get over their introversion if they had somebody kind of approaching them, as opposed to I'm an introvert naturally, and so it's hard for me.
Wait,
to
who was
approach
Alex
people.
Baldwin's ex-wife, mom of Ireland? Kim Basinger.
Yeah.
I remember when she won an award and she was shaking like a leaf, and I was like, And she's like, and then it was like, came out later, I have like extreme like anxiety in front of people. I'm like, but you're an actor. But then I'm like, oh, but that's different because you're on a small, close set. You're acting.
It's
you're
also not a stage
You're not a
actor.
stand-up. You're not whatever.
Yeah.
And so, but then there's a lot of stand-ups that can get up and do the greatest job of stand-up, and the last thing they want to do, they won't do meet and greets. They don't want to be around people. So it's like everybody's different. There's not. And so, but I remember I always wanted to be like an actress and comedian, something.
Okay. Well, that's
so I got a little taste of it, and
so
I
liked
it.
Okay.
But because it was a dating thing, I'd be out at like 12th Street in Manhattan Beach and talking to some cute guy I'd like to go on a date with. And then his friend would be like, she was on Studs. And I remember this guy being like, ew, you were? And he was like immediately turned off. So that can happen too.
The only person I have, although Mike Hathaway and I, we were doing Loveline Radio, we were actually on The Bachelor one time. We had some of the Bachelor, what are the contestants called?
Yeah.
Bachelorettes sort of on the show with us. But the only other contact I've had with those shows is Hannah Brown was in the desert with me.
Yeah.
And she was lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, just you wouldn't even think of, I wouldn't even occur, if I were a young man and I was on a date with Hannah Brown, I wouldn't be thinking about The Bachelorette. She's that kind of lovely.
I'm not saying with everybody. I'm just saying it could be if okay, if you screwed all three guys, when you have your fantasy suites.
Yeah.
And
we're talking about The Bachelorette.
The Bachelorette, and then you pick one.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't work out with him. And listen, if the guy doesn't like you, it's not meant to be. But I'm saying it might be a challenge in finding a life partner.
It might.
Because it's not just you. It's the stigma of like the rest of your family and everything knowing that you were on this show, that you've already been engaged.
Do you think
that you already had people kneel?
People kind of know. But
I'm
I think
just saying.
But let me ask this. Do you think The Bachelorette?
I'm not saying I would care.
No, I think this is a fascinating topic.
I want to say, before people come after me, I wouldn't care. But and obviously if a guy cares, he's not for you.
But here's the question. Do the Bachelors get less problems than the Bachelorettes?
Totally, I think so.
Oh, so that's
just like it's just like guys, may not want to date a female comic, but for a girl to date a male comic, it's like really cool and fun. There's just more that find it appealing.
That's so
it's not that no one finds it appealing. There's just more women that find it appealing that a man is a stand-up than the amount of men that find it sexually appealing that a girl is a stand-up.
Back to The Bachelor versus Bachelorette, Mae West is famous for having said that men want a woman with history because they believe history will repeat itself.
Oh.
So a lot of men don't care.
Good. Well, I hope they don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about...
Ooh.
We've talked a lot about Baby Reindeer on this show.
Okay.
But I want to get your opinion of the real Fiona that appeared on Piers Morgan.
Yeah, so
what is going on there?
I did it was a long interview on a panel with Piers on this topic. So I watched the interview. I don't know her. I don't know what's real. I have no idea on anything. Only the evidence will speak for itself. However, there are two things that I came with big question marks over my head. One was that Netflix, at the end of the movie or the series, has her going to court and going to prison. There's no record of that anywhere. There's no record of her going to court. She denies it, so that appears to be untrue.
However, I want to just interrupt because when talking about this on my other show, they said it's a lot harder to find. Records are very easier buried in the UK, and also she did have a name change.
But there's armies of people sleuthing over things.
So 100% she didn't go to prison. That was my understanding to begin with.
My understanding that there's a suit underway on that particular issue.
She's suing.
She's suing Netflix now. And I was on with Mark Garagos, and he was saying the attorneys that work with Netflix are top notch. They would not allow them to get up and say this is based on a true story. It is a true story, essentially what they're saying, unless they had overwhelming evidence to that effect. Now, did they monkey with it a little bit here and there, and the majority of it is true? I have no idea. His history is such that his memories are going to be distorted and weird too.
Richard Gadd.
Richard Gadd. He's doing drugs. He had horrible trauma stuff. The trauma that he discusses in the movie, I don't see anywhere where he talks about any antecedent trauma in childhood, except that his father, Richard Gadd's father, had also been sexually abused, I guess, in childhood, which the probability then is that Richard was also sexually abused in childhood, so he could distort things that are coming at him, add drugs and alcohol. It's all over the place. However, he claims he has 31,000 emails and 106 handwritten letters. If he has those, it's going to be pretty hard to refute some of the claims in the movie. But there is one other thing that really bothered me. One issue is that she didn't seem to go to prison or court at the end, in reality. But the other is she dealt with some reporter or something. I don't remember exactly what the story was, but apparently after that, whatever that story was filed, she called that reporter something like 50 or 75 times. And I thought, oh, well, people don't just do that once. That is a thing. Yes. And then there are other people that have claimed that she's been harassing and come after them. And she has all kinds of explanations for it. So there's three possibilities for her. She's telling the truth, and the other guy's wrong or whatever, it's distorted or made up, whatever. She knows the truth, but is unable to come to terms with it, which is probably the least likely. There's probably not volitional lying, okay? There's another category that people with certain personality disorders, they literally don't perceive reality accurately. They believe the things they're saying. And when presented with the evidence, it's like arguing with a flat earther or something. That when, like she said, well, what if they Pierce said, what if they present you the 106 letters? She goes, I wrote him one. So the other 105 must have been written by him copying my handwriting.
Right, he forging. Yeah,
forging it. And I'm telling you, those people can pass a lie detector test. I worked in a psychiatric hospital for 35 years. I can't tell you how many times I went in a room, had an interaction with a patient, and the patient came out and said, I assaulted her or something. And I always brought somebody with me because that happened a lot. So people,
they would say you assaulted them.
Or something. Or say all kind. I have some
you hit on them or
I mean, there crazy accusations would fly around. Some of them would go to the state, and I'd have to write everything that happened and defend myself and stuff. And of course, I always have a witness, so it's like not even close to what happened. But that happens way, way, way more than you imagine when people have certain psychiatric disturbances. Way more.
So my question is, in this world of being a stand-up or a podcaster and stuff, and in the internet world, where people can write you some stuff. And I once had this.
People can write you some stuff.
They can write. They can write stuff like comments and
about you or to you.
To you, and you can and you sort of recognize the same person keeps writing.
Oh yes.
And so there years ago on my fan Facebook page, which wasn't that big of a thing. Every time I posted something, there would be this guy that would write almost the same thing, which was nice, but it was weird that it was. Your hair looks so good like that. Well, I always wear my hair the same way. Whatever. Go on. And I had some people that then would be like, I think you should be aware of this person. Like, this is weird and da-da-da. Right. And my thought was, he's not doing anything mean now. If I block him or...
Oh, no, don't do that.
Something, then that could set him off. Let him write a comment about my hair 1,000 times. He's not writing 1,000 times. He just write it once. I don't even know where he is today. He probably moved on. Right. So my question is to you, what is your advice? Where do you blocking? Some people get really upset when you block them, but I also feel like for other people that are not psychos, I feel like just people that are haters, I do like to block them because I think my happiness triggers them.
Oh, sure.
And I'd rather them not see my happy life and then forget that I exist and then move on to someone else.
Well, I mean, haters are not stalkers.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I think there's a difference of that's what I'm saying. With a hater, who cares? Block them. But what's your advice to someone that's dealing with someone that's teetering, the police, you're not at a level where the police would do anything.
Yeah.
You want them to kind of go away, but you want to do it gently so that it doesn't escalate.
And you've had people in your life that have been sort of quasi we've talked about it on the show before.
Right.
So you're familiar with this, right?
Yeah.
You've actually managed it very, very, very well, right? There's two sort of flavors of stalking on the two extremes. One is called simple stalking, and it's actually the hardest one to manage. And simple stalking has a big range within it, but it can go on forever. It can go for decades. And if you respond to it literally in any way, you're just kind of resetting the clock, keeping it going. You have to distance yourself. Be prepared that they could make contact. They can be aggressive. They could be dangerous in terms of legal action and who knows what. So you have to really be very careful. Keep an eye on them, but you do not block. You do not call law enforcement. Any of that really keeps it going. Unfortunately, you should make a record of it, and you should keep copies of everything. Maybe even file a police report, but say, look, I'm just doing it to get it on the record here. But simple stalking is really, really tough to manage in my experience.
I just saw that, and I don't know all the details of it, but I follow Nikki and Courtney Six. Nikki Six of Motley Crue.
Yeah.
And they both had posted, they're married, they both had posted hooray, after 8 years, our stalker's finally behind bars. And they've been dealing with this for 8 years,
right.
This woman, delusions and,
okay,
they
so
had to
delusions,
move, security.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know all the details,
Well,
so I don't know what it was.
Now you're getting into psychotic stalking,
Yeah.
which is the other end of the extreme. I had a psychotic stalker. He was a meth addict who was... Did they ever tell you the story?
No,
Can I tell it here?
Yes,
It's juicy.
please do. Please do.
I get this. I remember I was on the internet and I came upon, or I think it was the time of MySpace even. Somebody started repeating these ridiculous, weird things to me about I was coming after him and what I was doing to him, and I was tormenting him and I needed to stop. And I was like, who is this guy? How weird. And I kind of think I clicked through even or something. And then I didn't even think about it. And fast forward 3 or 4 months, I get a summons from the Santa Monica court, how messed up our justice system is, small claims court. I had to appear on a middle of the day in Santa Monica a month from then because this guy made a claim that I had put a device in his tooth whereby I could force him to have erections. I wanted to just go to the court and go, are you kidding me? You take this stuff and you'd arrest him right there or take him to a psychiatrist? I mean, I was so delusional. I was so furious. And then I'm looking, I'm going, why, that name sounds familiar. I think it's that same name, that guy on the... So I go
MySpace?
through, and he's got a huge website dedicated to me. And then I heard, oh my God, about a week ago at K-Rock, when somebody was driving out of the parking lot, some guy jumped on the hood of the car and started screaming about me. I'd heard about that also. I thought, oh no, this is this whole
Now he's
thing.
very close.
Yeah, he was waiting at the radio station.
Yeah.
And then Susan gets into it, and she goes down the rabbit hole. He's got hundreds and hundreds of pages dedicated to how he's going to kill me and the boys, and then
Your sons?
And eat them in front of her, and all this crazy stuff. And so she calls the cops. This is my proudest moment of Susan's life for me. The cop is in there, and she goes, "Look at this! Look at what he's doing! He's talking about killing my kids." She goes, "Hey," the cop. She goes, "You need to get him. You understand me? Because if you don't, I'm not afraid to die. I will go get him. And you don't want that because I'm not afraid to die. He's talking about killing my kids." And they're like, "Calm down, Mrs. Pinsky. Relax. We're going to go after this guy." And they found him living in the Pierce College library down in the valley, Northridge, right?
Woodland Hills. No,
Woodland
that's where
Hills,
I am.
Yeah. And he was homeless, meth addict, spent the nights in the library and used their computers. And just was going berserk. And
then what happened?
Well, the LA District Attorney has a very fine stalking unit because somebody was killed, I forget, about 20 years ago.
Rebecca Schaefer.
Yep. And they take it very seriously, and they got him. And I was dealing with an attorney who now is a judge, and she was like, "Well, what do you want to do?" I go, "Let's get the guy treatment. I mean, it's a meth addict. This is exactly what I advocate for, treatment." And she was like, "Oh my God, I've never dealt with him. Normally they want him behind bars. They want him punished. Like guy's sick. I give him a chance. If he blows it, then he goes behind bars. No problem." He went to a dual diagnosis program for like 2 years and did well. I heard a little bit of something about a year ago, and then nothing since. So I think
you mean he reached out to you about a year ago?
In a bad way.
Oh, okay.
Not a good way, like psychotic again.
Oh.
But that's the way addiction is. It kind of can come back, and if somebody's
okay, now let me ask you this: us talking about it, does that make you scared that he might be a juicy scooper?
Juicy scoopers are very lovely and very interesting. They're not like this guy, I promise. They're not a homeless guy.
But what if he
on
was
tent.
still following you, and then he saw that you were on my show, and then he listened to you, and then that would trigger him to feel so special that you told the story?
Well, the psychotic stalkers are different. If he were a simple stalker, yeah, it'd be a problem. Psychotic stalkers are, I've had some simple stalkers I'm not mentioning.
Okay.
And psychotic stalkers, they're just psychotic and they need to be treated, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Dorit and PK of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills are are separated.
Imagine that.
And I wanted to just get your opinion about marriages that end up breaking up after, because they have been on the show for years.
Yeah.
He was married before and had older kids, but they've been together like 8 or 14 years. They've been together a while.
He looks a good bit older too, yes?
Oh, he got so mad at me because I thought there was a bigger age difference. And he wrote me. And he said they're only 8.5 years apart. She's like 47 and he's 56.
He looks a little older than that. And it got, bless his heart, maybe a bad picture. I don't know.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So they're not that far age difference.
Yeah, okay.
But, because when in talking about the relationship, I was like, well, that's a big age difference. And he's like, it's not that big of an age difference.
Well,
so anyway, but when they came on the show, now obviously she, like most people, loves being on the show, loves the fame, got very into fashion and everything.
Yeah.
And this past season, they shared that it wasn't great. Like she did share, and
that
then
their marriage isn't great.
There was great, and then the rumors were that the producer said, if you don't reveal the truth about the state of your relationship with PK, your husband, then you will not be asked back to Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Sure enough, they announced a separation. The next day, she got her contract to be a regular player again, a cast member. And what is your opinion of why a relationship can be so strained on a reality show?
Whenever people have come around Susan and myself and talked about being on a reality show, whatever it is, even home makeover shows and stuff, we look at each other and go, no marriages survive the cameras. The reality cameras. It's the strangest thing. The only thing I can think of is Ozzy and Sharon. They managed to survive it, but they live in different countries.
But they really didn't survive it. After that, he had a full-blown affair with the hairdresser. She's talked about breaking up with him.
Yeah.
He is a serial cheater. He's a drug addict.
Yeah.
She is the biggest enabler of any person I've ever seen on television.
Yeah.
So I don't think they did survive. Chris and Bruce, now Caitlyn obviously didn't survive. There's been so many housewives marriages.
Nobody survives.
I'm just trying to think, who has survived?
So the question is, are they selecting for dysfunctional relationships when they cast it, which I'm sure they're not, again, healthy is not interesting. And or is it something about the cameras? I have talked to people about it over the years, and they've always said that, when you have to relive the fights.
Yes.
That is difficult.
Because you live, you're right. I can't,
by the way, you're reliving it.
I've never thought about reliving the fight on camera.
And when you're reliving it, it's like 6 or 8 months later. You've gotten over it. You've forgotten about it. Now, there it is again. Right.
And then now, the difference of if you were on a reality show like The Osbournes, whatever, which was more of a comedy 20 years ago. Yeah. Now, it's the
about
next
the fights.
day, I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
All these other shows are talking about it.
Yeah.
You TikToks and comments and everybody has a woman that watches the show has an opinion, whether you were a bitch or he was a dick or whose fault it was, and they're in your ear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's sort of something about seeing it on a screen with, a two-shot versus your memory of it when you're directing your anger at the other. You know what I mean? It's sometimes people don't like how they come off. They don't like how they distorted the situation, or they see it more clearly from the standpoint of the fact that they should have been more angry, right?
Right.
They should have been more pissed. It gets through even better, more realistically.
Yeah, like they didn't notice that dismissive moment.
And by the way, there may have been something that they follow with him afterwards, where he's muttering something under his breath or something, or her.
Right.
Who knows? And so it becomes a big problem for people. Yeah, you don't think about it, right?
What I want to know is, what I would love is if couples, and they probably can't do this, or maybe they can once, if they survive and they both get off the show. Like, okay, Lisa Rinna, she was, left the show. I don't know if she was asked back. We still don't know if it was mutual, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think she has any desire to come back, but you never say never.
Yeah.
She's gone on to do a lot of cool things this year.
Was I with you when we had dinner with them at the pump?
Lisa Rinna was just joining the show.
When we had dinner that night.
Yeah.
And her husband was there too.
Harry Hamlin, yeah.
And I found out he was from like Pasadena, and I got his whole history.
Yeah.
He grew up a couple blocks from me where I grew up. It was crazy.
I mean, they've been together forever, and I think because she was so savvy about the show, and people didn't like that. They thought that she was sort of a self-producer and kind of a darling producer, but she came from TV and she's a good actress, whatever. She was fun to watch.
Yeah.
They survived, but what I really would love is like to get the two of them to be like, tell me about the times that you guys sat around, no cameras, in your bed, and were like, this is what happened tonight. They're gonna ask me tomorrow when the cameras are there. You're gonna ask me about my trip. And we're going to go through it, and I'm going to tell you that Erica Jane said this or whatever. Right. But I want to know if they said, look, the only reason that Harry Hamlin and I survived is because we were ahead of the game. Because we came from TV, we had these planned moments. We never ignored each other. When the cameras were gone, we were in our bedroom.
Yeah.
And
or when it started to get rough, that's when she left, maybe.
I mean,
didn't Lisa Kudrow show The Comeback? Get into this stuff.
That show, and I told Lisa Kudrow that
Best show
the
ever.
original Comeback,
the first
was
season
so ahead of its time.
I know.
I mean, so ahead of its time.
I completely agree.
That it was just too clever.
The second one was good too. It just wasn't
the second one was good, but the first one was just beyond brilliant in every way.
Yep,
but
I
I'm
agree.
like, I think maybe people like you and I loved it because it was so on the nail, had whatever nail on the head. Yeah. It was so good.
So that show and then Unreal.
Yes.
Those are the two that really were real. That's what I could name the people that they were making fun of on these shows.
I mean, that's what I've said. I come up with TV show ideas and movies all the time, and I don't care. I put them out there because I will not have time to execute it myself, and I'm okay with someone doing it so I can enjoy watching it.
Well, listen,
there's nothing I would rather watch tonight than a series on a streaming show that is the Unreal version of a Real Housewives thing, where they film it like Unreal, which was about The Bachelor, but it's about Real Housewives.
Why haven't they done
and
that?
It's all scripted, and we're seeing the Lisa Rinna, Harry Hamlin trying to go, look, I'm not going to fucking lose my marriage over this, but I'm staying on this show. The girls are becoming models.
Yeah.
All you have to do is make a blueberry pie one time. And I'm going to go I'm going to start a rumor that Yolanda has Munchausen's. And then I'm going to, fight with Kyle about her sister and go, what? Who? Did I say that? I'm going to act like I didn't know what I was saying. And she's like, and then you don't have to do any shitty movies in Canada anymore. So shut the fuck up. And because I do feel like the little bit that I've seen her talk, and we've DM'd a couple times, I truly do believe she is relieved at this point in her life as a 6-year-old woman who's doing great and is still married and her family stayed intact and her daughters are doing well. I do feel like maybe she is the one. And I said, I would love for you to come back on and you don't even have to talk about Housewives. You can just do hot topics.
Just this.
And she just said, nope.
Oh. Ooh.
I don't care. I didn't take it personally. Yeah. Listen, if I was her, I'd be gun shy about trusting anybody too. I really would.
Well, especially
I'd be like,
if they were pulling something behind the scenes.
I mean, that's why I said I go. We didn't even have to talk about Housewives. We can just talk about the modeling.
I've known her for a long time. Yeah. She's lovely.
I've always really, really liked her, and I'm like, But yeah, this is where I'm like, this is where the intrigue comes because, and then when this becomes your career for so long and you're at the money, because in the beginning you make no money, right?
Right.
And then and now you're at the close to $1 million a year.
God, do they get that much? They get that much in these
when
shows?
You get to the top, when you get to like year 6 or 7 and you're a real big player.
Wow.
But then they start knocking you off.
Because they need to save the money.
Save the money and bring in younger girls.
Yeah.
But then you're like, well, I'm not ready to give up. I don't know how else I'll get $1 million.
Right.
Because even with a brand deal and that, they're not $1 million deals.
Right.
And if I don't have a business like Lisa, which is other shows and restaurants or whatever, what are we really going to do?
No, I get that. That's why people get desperate to stay on these things, and that's why I wanted to do something called After Reality to see how people do manage.
And then the fans are like, well, she had a boring storyline. What do you mean? You want her to start to fake having schizophrenia or something so that she could stay on the fucking show?
Yeah.
If this is her life, this is her life. But that's the thing. If your life is boring, if you're not going through a divorce, if your kid isn't coming out or struggling with something and you're ready to, exploit your child, if you're not willing to do any of that and you just want to talk about making dumplings, guess what? You're probably going to get the boot.
Yeah.
It's just such a weird thing.
I completely agree with you.
And it's weird that new people keep signing up
to do it.
As much as I love it and I've made, content out of it and stuff, I'm just kind of like, how when someone says to a young woman, like a new person that's just joined New Jersey, that's married with 2 little kids, I guess I would also, are people around you going, don't do it, but then you're the girl that wanted to be famous,
right,
but didn't do the hard work, and you didn't go through the acting, and here's the opportunity to finally be famous, and you're like, I'm doing it.
Yes.
And I don't work, so really, honey, you're not going to let me do it. I'm going to bring in a couple $100,000.
No, it's a lottery. It's a lottery win for a lot of people, and especially if you don't have much else, like you're going to be working at a Wendy's or something. You know what I mean? Then I get it. Now, I have the only published data on the personalities of reality people. We didn't do a lot of them, but enough to document extreme narcissism, particularly in the women. Now, that was in the early days. It was back in the early days of Survivor and stuff. Been a long time since we collected that data. But of course, again, those people are interesting.
Yeah.
That's why they get cast. And those people also probably want to be on TV. Are really gratified by it.
Right.
We proved also in our research that it was that the fame was a bid to manage a traumatic injury, essentially, narcissistic injury. That there was sort of a strategy in their mind that I'm going to feel better, maybe not even conscious, that it's going to fill the hole in their heart, kind of thing, and it does for a while till it doesn't.
And how do you feel about fame as an addiction?
I don't like the model of addiction so much, but it certainly can be a compulsion. And again, the biggest thing I saw in people that are in the public eye is it's not the being in the public eye that is so challenging or the addiction part. The concern always is, I don't want to lose it. So that's the fear. That's the motivation. It's like, I can't lose this. And that's what you're talking about.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't lose
it's like losing the juice. It's losing the high from all this. It's what am I going to do then? It's exactly what you're talking about.
And have you ever talked or treated, children of a high profile reality show where the kids are looking back? I always think that I've always thought that would be the thing.
Yeah, but I'm sure that's a mixed bag also.
I think it is a mixed bag.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could really make a show out of it, quite honestly. I don't know, because it's more like that's a podcast episode, and then that's it.
Exactly.
Like, okay, tell me what it was like, tell me the fun of it, what you didn't like. Oh, a couple interesting stories of, when someone realized that you were the kid or they were bullied or this cool thing happened from it. But I don't think it's like, I don't think there's enough to make a show out of that.
Well, it's the same. I suspect it's very similar to the whole child star thing generally, right? And I was a pretty good friend with Danny Bonaduce for a while, and he always emphasized how being a child star was not bad. It was fine. I mean, it's kind of weird being in an adult world all the time. It sort of ripped well, we used to call it parentalizing the children. In other words, they're made into an adult too early, and that's kind of traumatic. But they're not, they have adult responsibilities and stuff on a show, and that's not good for children, but it's not necessarily going to be a big issue. His thing was, oh no, the parents that put kids in these shows often are terribly abusive. That was his point, constant point. And he had a bad situation.
Right, of course. Where is he now?
I think he's doing radio in the East somewhere, like in New Jersey or something. Yeah. He had a neurological illness for a while. I tried calling him actually because there was this thing about him having weakness and couldn't move around, and then all of a sudden he seems.
Remember, he did that reality show, Breaking Bonaduce.
Oh, he invented reality shows. That was the first real reality show.
It really was.
Yes. Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. People don't even know what we're talking about.
I know. You probably don't. There was a show called Partridge Family. He was the redhead kid on it. Again, this is when, there were
the 70s.
3 channels and everyone watched this show.
Yep.
And here you're this big child star and you're so known for that you oftentimes don't get acting roles after it.
It's like being Gilligan on Gilligan's Island or something.
Yes.
And because that's how big these shows were then. They couldn't no one could get that character out of their head.
Right.
And they followed him later. This is probably the early 90s. I forget why they were following him. There was some conceit.
It wasn't early 90s.
It's the late 80s even?
I think it was early 2000s. I swear I remember doing stuff with it about around the Chelsea time.
Okay.
So it was early to mid 2000s, maybe like 2005, 6.
Okay. And he I guess because we were doing MTV for Loveline.
And I remember he was it was about, he's trying to be sober and he had that wife, Gretchen, that redhead wife. And then I just remember he just went on a binge and they show him skateboarding and the cameras are following him.
And drinking liters of Jack Daniel and stuff and then vomit. It was just, and
they just kept, intervention meets,
they just kept the cameras going. And he told me afterwards he felt like it sort of urged him to lean into it. Not that there was producing going on. He just felt that intensity of the cameras and it's screw it, I'm going to go all the way. And,
also it's I do believe it's a job. Yeah. It is a job, and you want to but you do, if the producers are oh my God, you're fucking killing it. That was, last night, when the Housewives will say, the season's really good this year. It's really good. And I'm like, so you guys fought and tore each other's heads off and were horrible to each other.
Yeah.
When you're saying it's really good, we know that it was absolutely emotionally traumatic for at least half of you.
Yeah.
It's different than saying, oh, Succession is really good. We're really proud of what we did on Succession this season.
Right.
We go in a totally different direction that you haven't seen, and because it's scripted and it's acted. Yeah. But when a reality show goes, oh, get ready, it's just...
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I never imagined reality would become what it was, ever.
Yeah.
It's become, rather.
How do you feel about Ozempic? Let's end up on Ozempic.
So
Oprah, she's finally taking accountability. That's what she did. Now it's, these shots are everywhere and you can get them in different places with healthcare and whatnot. I think the more interesting thing is people that are still pissed about it, still pissed that other people are able to take these shots.
That's so funny
and get thin and look good because I believe that, I've said this, I'm there's some people that never had a problem with being thin and now all their friends that have other talents besides being thin are also, and probably a prettier face, are now skinnier and they're and I'm don't be a jealous bitch. Who cares? But then my one friend who is naturally skinny goes, well, it's not I can take a shot and start singing like Celine Dion, but this person can take a shot and just get thin like me. And I'm yeah, that's it. The playing level has evened out.
You can get to work on that Celine Dion musical shot. But look, I look at this medically. Medicines are dangerous. Always. There's no medication on earth that is only good for you. They all have risks. They all have side effects. And when you are using a medication for more than that for which it is primarily indicated, then you are going to see trouble more than benefit. Now, they're trying to, I don't think they even have the obesity indication yet, but they'll probably get it. The problem is non-obese people are taking it also. People just want to lose 10 pounds. So the kinds of side effects, of course, are like gastroparesis, which I have seen. It is terrible.
What is that?
Your stomach doesn't move neurologically anymore. It just sits. And so food sits here, causes pain, ulcers, vomiting, nausea. It's a mess. And it does not go away. So that's a mess if you get that. People get muscle loss because you're losing everything, not just fat. Sarcopenia is one of the leading indicators of life shortening. The longevity is dependent on maintaining muscle mass, so I worry about that. We don't know what other side effects we might see, and I heard a couple others that were like, oh, it sounded awful. When we get into the Manjaro and some of these other things that affect the drive systems, yeah, they might have some use and utility in addiction, a life-threatening disorder. But in terms of creating other motivational disturbances or depression, we might see that. Yeah, people complain that they get the Ozempic face, they get drawn looking. And when they stop, they often go back up above where they were in the first place. Do you remember Fen-Phen?
Yes.
We've been through this before, right? There was clinics all over the country, people going, you're going to stay on this rest of their life. Until they found out 5 years down the line, everyone was getting heart damage. Well done now. You don't remember that?
No, I totally remember that. I remember, wasn't Trim Spa?
There was a bunch of them.
So something
is going to come. We're going to learn more about adverse events as time goes on. Okay, that's one side of it. The other side is, how long are you going to stay on these things, and what are you going to do? I have no problem with somebody starting it for a while or taking it for a couple of months maybe to get something going, right? But after that, diet and exercise. Let's get going. Exercise is a critically important part of health and mood and longevity. Let's get an exercise program going. And it's hard to do it if you're, severely calorie depleted or if you're losing muscle mass. So I worry about that. And then you're probably going to have to come out at some time anyway. And so you better learn to manage your diet such as it is. And so I don't know. I have very mixed feelings about it.
It's also interesting to see if like plastic surgery, if they've noticed a difference, we're not doing as much lipo, but we are doing more tightening of skin. Yes, they
are, and they're giving the they're the ones giving the medicine, and then dealing with some of the stuff that comes along the way as a result. And they're charging a fortune for it. It's ridiculous what people charge to give this stupid medicine. So,
there are places that don't charge as much. You get with a program. Now, tell me about your company before we wrap up.
Oh yeah, the wellness company. Can I show this?
Yes,
kit?
Please. Yeah.
So I would have forgotten. Thank you. There's a group I'm working for, the wellness company. It's sort of a telehealth company. And after having been through COVID, one of the things I learned is there's just no telling what our government will do, what the medical system will do. You need to be prepared. So we have sort of emergency kits. These are fully prescribed. Like this is a travel kit. This is all the stuff I bring when I travel for my family and kids and stuff.
What's
in it? As antibiotics for skin infections, antibiotic for sinus and throat, there's antibiotics for bacterial. My son got a hemorrhagic E. coli once during traveling, so I was like, I'm always bringing Cipro with me from now on. We have nausea medicine. It's just everything we could think of that said, could you get into trouble with while traveling? So.
And how much is the kit?
You have to look it up. I don't know offhand.
He's going to kill you.
I know they're going to kill me. I think $150, something like that, somewhere in that zone.
Wait, can I look at it?
Hey Siri, how much is a wellness company travel kit, emergency kit? Let's see.
This is great.
Show them. Okay, here it is.
And you could just get it.
Yeah, it's just a telehealth thing.
I think that's brilliant. I think that is so important. If you don't need it, you don't need it.
I completely agree. It's stuff I would take.
Yeah,
I think
it's a brilliant idea.
Started talking to these guys, I'm like, this is a really good thing, and they turned out to be really a great group, and a bunch of doctors I respect are involved with it, and so it's been a really positive experience for me all the way along. $299 for the medical emergency. Oh, that's the medical emergency kit. That's a bigger kit. That is the medical emergency kit.
Okay.
The travel one is the one I was thinking of, but this is a bigger kit.
Oh, you have a smaller one.
Smaller one's for travel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because this is a lot of. I just saw a lot of pills. That's a lot of pills.
Here.
Okay.
A lot of different stuff. I'm gonna just give you a juicy scoop.
Yes.
They're going to help me set up a store, and I'm going to start using telehealth to get people medication. Like, do you know that if you took a single dose of doxycycline after sex, you could eliminate 95% of STDs? Yeah.
Wow.
And there are certain kinds of post-coital contraceptives and intracoital contraceptives you can use that are not ingestible. There's all kinds of stuff that people aren't aware of. I want to start pushing that stuff out. I want to get things in the hands of patients. Mm-hmm. I spent my whole career trying to protect the doctor-patient relationship. It's been destroyed. So we need to let patients get their hands on things they want to be ready and to take care of their family and their health. So,
Dr. Drew, and what other shows do you have if they want to get more Dr. Drew in their life?
I've got something coming out of Discovery. I can't really talk about anything else.
Oh,
yet.
okay.
So,
but the podcast, you still have your podcast.
I do podcast, Dr. Drew podcast, do a podcast with Adam still. People don't realize he and I have been together forever.
Yeah.
And so Adam and Dr. Drew show. But this thing we've been doing in the afternoons, the streaming show, Rumble is where I want you to sign up and just subscribe at Rumble. And it's just been a great experience. It's been a really interesting experience. Susan really loves doing it, and she produces it, and it's been really positive. So.
And for me, you guys, for all my live shows, you go to heathermcdonald.net. That's where you join Patreon and only buy my tickets for my live stand-up and Juicy Scoop Experience shows at heathermcdonald.net. Lots of great shows coming up. We've got Temecula, Saratoga, California, San Diego, California, Texas, Houston, Dallas, Austin in August. Everything is at heathermcdonald.net. Thanks.